You can look really specifically at like the film landscape. It's really male-dominated. You have roles for women written by men, directed by men. In that way, you have a broken narrative. It doesn't reflect, I think, the ideals or like inherent values that a lot of women have. It's not how they compose themselves or establish like real thoughts or relationships. It's entertainment that has taken shape by men for men. And that is, I think, definitely why you need more female influence in creative fields to reestablish that narrative and to redirect it. Her Stories it's meant to be actually her stories in terms of sort of reappropriating the use of language and storytelling to appropriate the social shift in terms of like historical context. This reclaims a lot of speech and a lot of social movements and retells a lot of these stories and perspectives through female experiences. This is kind of the issue, and this is, I think, where the core of the project exists, is that there is this issue where a lot of female issues are stigmatized. With any given media forum environment, there's a lack of intimacy. To be able to put a face to the story somehow like really makes it real.
It's really about telling people's stories, which I think is really important. Castor and Pollux, it's really just giving a voice to people that want to be heard. I am responsible for handling our editorial platform as well as the YouTube channel.
My photography is very focused on color. A lot of it deals with intimacy and sexuality and gender. Some of the people in Kiss had been in relationships for a really long time. It explored different relationships, what happens when we actually kiss one another. My upcoming book, 23, is a study of the spectrum of gender and sexuality. I noticed that there were a lot of books about nudes that were like very much centered on like very heteronormative ideals. Adding these colors to something will make people re-examine some of their preconceived notions about the nude form or about kissing.
Do you find that like the negative comments are not as much now, or is there like...
This one girl messaged me like, you need to get off of Instagram. You're reeking of desperation. If somebody is uncomfortable with it, they just don't have to look at it, so.
Mary Young is a brand that really focuses on women, encouraging women to appreciate who they are naturally and to dress for their body rather than changing their body to fit clothes. All the shoots that I have done, I make sure that there's a very comfortable feeling on set. Usually the models that I'm working with actually aren't typical models, so I don't go to an agency to find models. I find women that I think are empowering, just really embody what the brand stands for. The biggest thing that I focus on is being relatable. When I was getting into studying lingerie, there was never a brand or any images or content that I saw myself in. It was always, if I could wear this, then maybe I could be closer to looking like that and feeling like that. So everything I do is to encourage women to feel they could actually see themselves wearing it, that they could see themselves living their life feeling comfortable in what they're doing and who they are. Almost fight what media has told them to perceive as what is sexy or what is confident and find that within themselves and then dress for themselves.
The response essentially was that women wanted to create an environment where this kind of discursive thought could exist.
It's important to have a safe space for women to open up and share instead of tearing each other down or tearing themselves down, to start to empower themselves and to really find love for themselves.
I made clear from the beginning of the project, actually, that this isn't a misinterest crusade. This isn't about, like, tearing down the patriarchy per se, but it's about also, like, dismantling internalized patriarchy and misogyny and all of these things. The way that women react to and behave with one another, the way that we speak to one another, it's all really important. You see that in, like, female friendships, the way that women behave in business. There are all of these, like, levels and tiers of socialization that need to be completely disrupted and rebuilt.
Growing up, I didn't see enough of myself in photos or magazines or in TV.
For me, the biggest issue now in terms of the media lens is the lack of equal representation. Not specifically gendered, but from an intersectional feminist perspective.
In order to really showcase what I'm trying to do, I can't just choose one type of person, because that's not what I'm about, and I'm not trying to encourage people to fit into one category.
In my experience, unless you specifically tell a lot of modeling agencies that you want a diverse casting package, you will just get a package of white girls, which I think is really ridiculous. If there were more diverse casting options, we would see more women of color and of different ethnic backgrounds in ads.
The female gaze, like, it's not just about sexualizing men. You have to deconstruct the way you've been raised and the way you think, and that's really difficult.
It's also hard, I think, to define the female perspective as one thing, because each woman's experience in life and in her work is so different.
Whether we are reclaiming the gaze, so to say, which from my perspective is just to reclaim the way that our bodies are interpreted and represented. We are ways away. The way to start is not creating a clear distinction between men and women, you know, just like really addressing people as individuals.
Women are shown as one-dimensional beings when we're obviously not. We have opinions. We like to be funny. You know, we're human beings.
If we're talking about the female gaze, the difficulty is that it's hard to outline. It hasn't been institutionalized in the same way. You don't have a history of its representation. And so, if there is, how do we know? Is there tangible proof that there's a female gaze? Are we so roped up in the way that we digest images and how quickly we digest images? Like, are we even giving them the thought that they deserve? There are a lot of things that come into the fact that we're now approaching a time where we can even consider having a female gaze.